Hi and welcome to another Type with Me. In today's video I want to talk about web components. How to create your own vanilla custom elements without the use of big web frameworks, and what the advantages are of that. So for that I just created a very basic index.html page, and we have a mybutton.js, which here has a class myButton, extends of HTML elements. It has a constructor. This has a attach shadow, which creates a shadow root for elements and returns it. And then in that shadow root you can put a inner HTML with style and the button, which has a slot, and in that slot we can then provide this, right? We can provide and save. So that's very important, the slot. Click me, and then here we have save, right? So if I now do mpx serve, we're gonna serve our application. And if we then go to localhost 3000, we see here our save button, right? And if we now go here to my button, you see here shadow root. If we open that, you see here the style and the button, and it has slots, and it has then click me, but of course click me is being overridden by save, right? So going back to my example, I'm just going back to my button. So what is important? We have here my button. It extends of HTML element. We have a constructor here. We say this.attach shadow. We say mode and then open. So it can have different modes. And on that regard, you can always go to the MDN reference to check that. And we have your custom elements dot define, and with custom elements define a new custom element, mapping the given name to the given constructor as autonomous custom element that we can start to use, right? So we can observe attributes. So one of the things that we could do then is go here and use this, right? We can go for a static get observed attributes, and in this regard we are observing the variant, and for the variant we can here say primary. See here with my button, what are we going to do? Well, we are going to add a class name primary when the variant primary will be put there. And if it's primary, we can do something like this, primary and background color blue, something like this, right? If we then go to our web page, you see here save, and it's blue. Of course it's not readable because the text is blue and then black, so it's not readable, it's not accessible. So sorry for that, didn't count on that, but it's quite cool because now you see here button class and it has primary, so we can put certain attributes here, we can listen through it, and we can then, when we put attributes on top of that, do manipulations on our components. And I think that's an important one, because then we can very easily use our components and do things with it. So again, static get observed attributes, and then we say which attributes are observed, and then we can do something like this, attribute changed callback, which is the name that we can see that is changed. So if we have, for example, more attributes that we want to listen through, you can route them to the right one and then do something with it, because then we have here the name, and we have the old value and the new value. So we would have something like undefined or annual, and the new value will be then the new value, which is then here primary. So it's always nice to look into, so I will do so. Console.log and then name old val new val, just for demo purposes. So if I now refresh the page and I go to the console, I see here variant annual and primary, which is cool, right? Because now we see, okay, this is the one that we have listened to, this is annual, and then we have primary. So we can do cool stuff with that as well. So next thing I want to show you is creating custom events, right? And it could be interesting because for that going to do something like this. So what we are going to do is here this.shadowroot.query selector button, we're gonna add event listener click, and we're gonna dispatch the event to the new custom event toggle. And on that regard, we can do something with the toggle event there, right? So if we then go to here and we do something like this. Yeah, well, actually, you don't need this, so I just removed the type, and I just added script here. And if we now click on it, you'll see here that we get true, right? And if we go here, you see here toggle and then e-detail, and e-detail is then the event.detail, which is true. And that's normal because we have here detail and then true, and we have bubbles and then true, right? So nice, we can now dispatch custom events. So a last trick that I maybe want to show is how to use or work with CSS, right? So what I'm gonna do now here is do something like this. I'm gonna put something like this, style, my button, and then we put BNG background. And so within our components, we can put something like this. We can do button background and then our btn background, and then Dodger blue. But like we did here, we put hot pink, right? So if we now refresh the page here, we can see that this works. We get my button, and in my button we say btn-pg hot pink, and it will start using that because in here we have then our correct styling created. So that's super nice in my opinion. So we learned how to create native elements. Like you see, you don't need a bundler, you don't need anything for this. This is just plain vanilla JavaScript as custom components. You can very easily then load it in with type module myButton.js, and you can use button or multiple buttons into it, right? So I'm gonna add a new button here. So that's another button that I added. I'm gonna put it on new line. So I'm gonna save this. And then you see here that I have the first one and the second one. You need to know that the first one has the variant primary, right? And that we got, if we go here, the color white. I removed the background color blue, and then we have the my button second, which is then the second button that you can put on it here. So you can create then your custom elements for your HTML page and create your own kind of variants on that. So this is really great for creating a good looking but also functional and very good user experience design system in place, and have less boilerplate code that comes in the way when you're creating big web applications, right? So could be very interesting to look into. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it. I think it's very cool to do this and to work with custom components, and I liked it very much to dive a little bit deeper into it, right? To see like, hey, which is the shadow root and how is this being used, and hey, these are styles that are being used, and then here you have the button with a slot into it. So that's really nice. So thank you for watching and see you next time.